A Beijing spy in the mayor's office in California. All right, folks, buckle up. Because today's story has everything. I mean, everything. A small-town mayor, a Chinese Communist Party handler, a WeChat spy ring, and I'm not making this up, a potential prisoner swap involving one of the most famous political prisoners on the planet. You cannot write this stuff. Hollywood will reject it for being too on the nose. Let's dive in. Meet Eileen Wang, mayor of Arcadia, California, or at least she was for about 11 weeks. Arcadia, nice suburb, east of LA, very wealthy, very heavily Chinese American, and Eileen Wang was the freshest face in local politics. Then she walked into a federal courthouse and pleaded guilty. To what, you ask? Acting as an unregistered foreign agent for the Chinese Communist Party. She's now looking at up to 10 years in federal prison and a $250,000 fine. But the mayoral parking spot, she didn't even get to use it for a full season. Now here's where it gets wild. According to sources close to these negotiations, and these are people who know that Washington and Beijing have been quietly working on a deal, a prisoner swap. On our side of the table, Eileen Wang. On Beijing's side, Jimmy Lai. Now, if you aren't familiar with that name, stop and Google it right now. Jimmy Lai, pro-democracy publisher from Hong Kong. He's been sitting in a communist prison for years. He is, at this point, China's single most valuable political hostage. And the CCP is allegedly willing to trade him for her, a suburban mayor from Arcadia. Now think about that for a second. Beijing's willing to give up their biggest chip, and man, the entire free world is watching, to get back one woman from a city of 60,000 people in the San Gabriel Valley. That's not the behavior of a government that thinks she's low level. That's the behavior of a government that is terrified of what she's about to tell the FBI. So who is Eileen Wang? Born in Chengdu in 1968, came to the US around 2000, single mom, 2 kids, ran an after-school tutoring center in Arcadia called Little Stanford Academy. Cute, right? But Eileen didn't want to teach kids math. She wanted power. She joined the Lions Club, the Realtor Association, the Chinese Chamber of Commerce. She schmoozed, she networked, she climbed. And then she met a man named Chris Sun. Chris Sun floated around Southern California calling himself a famous Chinese gala director, organized big Chinese New Year events all over LA, real community pillar on the surface. Underneath, however, federal prosecutors say he was a deep-cover CCP handler. And when Chris Sun met Eileen Wang, he saw exactly what he was looking for. Ambitious, hungry, connected. And let's be honest here, not too worried about who was signing the checks. He became her campaign manager, her mentor, her fiancé. Then, the CCP has found his candidate. Now here's the part where I need you to actually picture this happening. Between 2020 and 2022, Eileen and Chris run a website called the US News Center. Sounds like a local news outlet, right? Very normal, very American. It was, however, a propaganda channel for Beijing. And the federal indictment has the receipts, literally WeChat screenshots. A Chinese Communist Party official sends Eileen a pre-written article, usually something denying the Uyghur genocide, whitewashing Xinjiang, you know the drill. Eileen posts it on her website, and then, this is the part that gets me, she texts back like an intern on her first week of work. Boss, it's live, check the view counts. And the CCP official replies, thank you, great job everyone. Great job everyone. And this went on for 2 years. By the 2022 midterms, Chris Sun decided it was time to launch his prize horse into actual American politics. He filed a formal report to the CCP's United Front Work Department. The report bragged, and I mean bragged, about Eileen, said she had extensive experience fighting Taiwanese separatists and Falun Gong, said she was the rising political star. Beijing, in response, said, say no more. Funded by communist money, Eileen ran as a Democrat and won a seat on the Arcadia City Council in November 2022. Because Arcadia rotates its mayor amongst council members, she eventually got her turn to wear the mayoral sash. A Beijing-controlled agent sitting in the mayor's chair in California. It actually worked. Now the FBI, as it turns out, does not take days off. First, their associate, a man named Zhang Chen, got caught trying to bribe someone he thought was an IRS official, who turned out to be an undercover federal agent. 20 months. Then in late 2024, Chris Sun got arrested, sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. The moment the cuffs went on Chris, Eileen issued a statement, fastest statement I've ever seen. Oh, him? We broke off our engagement. I have nothing to do with this business. Nothing to do with this business. Ma'am, your name is in the WeChat wiretaps. So the deal fell apart. The plea came through, and the women who went from tutoring kids in Arcadia to sitting in the mayor's chair, courtesy of Communist Party money, is now staring down a federal prison sentence. Here's the bottom line. The CCP does not care about you. If you work for them, you're not a comrade. You are a tool. And when you get caught, your only remaining value to Chairman Xi is whether he can trade you away to buy himself some peace of mind. That is what Eileen wants now, a bargaining chip after everything. We're going to stay on top of this prisoner swap story. If Jimmy Lai walks out of that prison, you'll hear about it here first. Be sure to hit subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you next time.